Hello, welcome back to Not Another Mindset Show. Today is a big day. Today's a really big day, and this is actually so funny how the timing is actually working out because there's actually two big days happening at once, in a sense, because I am recording this podcast on the last day of the Health Mindset Coaching Certification, the last day of the 8th cohort to complete HMCC. So we just got off our last live call literally an hour ago, and I embarrassed myself as I always do. I try really hard to stay composed and professional, but I cry every single time because without fail, as we start to come to the end of the call, and this call is really just a kind of last chance opportunity to ask me any questions about their clients, to ask any questions about the material in the course, to help them better prepare for the final assessment case study that they have to do. So that's the purpose of this final live call. But as we get to the end, I start to get some thank yous and wow, this course made such a big difference in my coaching, but also in my life, in my own mindset, not just with my clients. And I expect it every time. And I think because I try really hard not to get emotional about it, I do. And it just backfires every single time. But it is really just so emotional for me because I know what these coaches are now capable of doing for all of their clients. And I know how frustrating it can be because I've been there as a coach, not knowing what to do when your clients are self-sabotaging or they're ghosting their check-ins and you're frustrated. You feel like it's a you problem. You feel like there's something wrong with you or that maybe you're not cut out for coaching. And the reality is none of that's the case. And there are evidence-based practices in psychology and mindset and behavior change to make that not be the case. But coaches are not taught this stuff in the traditional nutrition and exercise certifications. So when I know that what I am helping these coaches achieve, not only like achieve maybe monetarily in their coaching practices because their clients are adhering to the plan better and seeing more results and sticking around for twice as long as they used to, but also that they get to sit down and go into their client check-ins and feel excited and not feel frustrated or concerned that they're not good enough coaches when their clients are unmotivated or like I said, self-sabotaging or just getting in their own way. And they just feel like their hands are tied always in those situations. And that doesn't have to be the case anymore. And it's such a fucking relief. Pardon my French, though I've never pardoned it before. You guys have already heard me use curse words. When I get passionate, okay? So anyway, I just get hit with like this entire wave of all of those things and the domino effect of what these coaches are now going to do in the coaching industry and just like how corrupt, for lack of a better term, the coaching industry really is in the health and fitness world. In the health and fitness world, how much bullshit is in it. And to know that I can make any kind of a positive impact amongst all of that. It just, whew. I'm gonna try not to cry here again. Let's keep it together, Kasey. Anyway, I digress. So I cry every time. And the students just make me feel so good also for the course that I have created and the mentorship that I have provided them. So yeah, where we are today was that last call of the 8th cohort. So we've been running HMCC since 2020, and that was our 8th round. But when you are listening to this episode, it's actually the very first day of enrollment for the 9th cohort of HMCC. So because I have been on top of it, y'all, so far, so good with batching content in advance for the podcast, I'm literally recording this podcast for the first day of HMCC enrollment on August 19th, although today is currently June 24th, and we had just finished our last call for the previous cohort. So funny how that lined up, though. Like I went to sit down and record this podcast, and I was like, wait a second. That is interesting. So today is the first day. You have 4 days from today, so August 19th through the 22nd, if you would like to join us in the Health Mindset Coaching Certification. And you can do your due diligence and scan through the information page. You can check out our Instagram account. We are just at Health Mindset Cert over there. You can shoot me a DM. You can send me an email. We can chat personally. If you're on my email list, you've probably already gotten a handful of emails. You can do all of that, but I wanted to dedicate an episode to talk a little bit more about HMCC and really give you all of the details, the full rundown, so you can make a really solid, confident decision to enroll in HMCC or not to enroll or not to enroll. That is the question. And is the question that I would like you to feel really confident answering. And that's literally always my goal. If you've learned from me in any capacity when it comes to like sales and marketing, I am not here to convince you. I don't want to convince you. If you feel convinced to join HMCC and then you join it, chances of you resenting me or resenting the program after the fact are pretty high. And I really, I just want you to be there. I want you to see the value and go, this is a place that I need to be. This is where my coaching practices are really going to reach the next level, see new heights. My business is going to expand, etc. I want you to feel that way. So I'm just going to give you all the information I can to hopefully feel that way. But if you don't, no hard feelings. So with that said, why does HMCC exist in the first place? I think my little intro to how I've been feeling at the end of the calls kind of explains why it exists. But to reiterate and to just fully clarify, number one, there is not another program like the Health Mindset Coaching Certification. There is no other mindset and behavior change science. They say science like very deliberately here. Mindset and behavior change science, evidence-based program for health and fitness coaches. So this is geared towards health and fitness professionals. I should say that versus coaches because we have doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, sports teams, coaches, people of all different health professionals come into HMCC, but it is mainly geared towards and designed for health and fitness coaches. So a program like this does not exist, especially when you're talking someone who quite literally has published research in these exact topic areas. So that's my background. If you didn't listen to episode 1, that's where I talked a little bit more about my background, but really quick, going into that just because I want you guys to know that I am a credible source of this information and I want you to be conscious consumers of where you get your information. My background is in psychology. I have a PhD in psychology. I've published research when it comes to mindset, specifically related to health behavior change. So how do we help people think differently, perceive things differently, and therefore do things differently so they can better their health, their fitness, and stick to health and wellness plans, basically, right? So that's what I've taken that knowledge, that educational experience, plus my decade in the coaching industry, being a coach myself and running a coaching team, packaged it up and turned it into the Health Mindset Coaching Certification. And it is a certification. At the end, you can say, I am certified. You get a what is the word I'm looking for? You get certified and you get a certification, like an actual certification. And we're also accredited by a bunch of different organizations that you know and love. Those are, let me see if I can remember them all. NASM, AFAA, ACSM, ACE. Oh my gosh, this one's always so hard. It's the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches. NBWCH, something like that. Some combination of those letters. And I think there's one more. Oh, ISSA. So if you have a certification through any of those organizations and you need CEUs to keep up those certifications, which they all require that, HMCC will provide that for you. So we also had to go through a pretty rigorous process to get approved for CEUs by all of those organizations. So they kind of put their stamp of approval on it as well. And kind of looping back into this idea of like why HMCC exists, these massive organizations, places like NASM and ISSA and ACE, these massive organizations who certify coaches, the only reason they would say, hey, Dr. Kasey Orvidas, you can send our people through your program. They will pay you and we will give them CEUs. The only reason they would say that is because they don't currently have a program like this themselves. And they are aware that there is a gap in their own education. Otherwise, they would rather take your money than it coming to me, right? Like that would be their preference. Granted, they are making money from me still because I have to pay to be a continuing education provider and do that for you guys. But that said, just to kind of like round this all out, why HMCC exists is because there's a massive gap in the health and fitness coaching industry. There is not a lot, sometimes zero, formal education when it comes to behavior change and mindset and understanding client psychology. If anything, you may get like 1 week here or there, like a small module, but we're talking this is an entire certification, but like don't get scared. It's really only like 13 weeks worth of content, okay, inside HMCC. So we are together filling that gap and changing lives because of it, because your clients are going to feel more competent, more autonomous. They're going to show better and quicker results. They're going to stick to the plan. They're going to be less dependent on you. They're going to stick with you much longer than they would have otherwise because you have all of these skills to help them and uncover these underlying beliefs and psychological mechanisms that are keeping them from being consistent currently. And we all know this at the end of the day, right? Exercise, important. Nutrition, also very important. But at the bottom, at the base of that pyramid, like what is the foundation of making sure that all of that stuff happens is mindset. It's behavior change. It's your belief systems. And so those are the things that are so freaking crucial for you to learn as a coach, but yet it's not given the airtime it deserves, which is what I have decided to do for all of you instead. So because you can't get this from most of your certifications, I have created one. So that is HMCC. That is why it exists. And I really want you to feel excited to sit down for every single client check-in. I don't want you to ever have to dread a client check-in because you know that they're not going to fill out the form, they're not going to check in at all maybe, or you just know that you're going to provide them with some options and some ideas and they're going to say, yes, I can do that, I'm so excited, and then fall off again. And it's just this repetitive cycle that makes you want to pull your hair out and makes you wonder if you should even be a coach in the first place. I don't want that for you. And HMCC is the solution to all of that. So where I was at when I first wanted to develop HMCC. So as I kind of described in that first intro episode, if you care at all to learn more about me and like my background, that's where you can learn more about it. But I spent a lot of time, first and foremost, I fell in love with strength training and nutrition for myself. And I really didn't understand why so many people were essentially refusing, it seems like, to not do those things. And like, obviously, me being a college student, like didn't understand at the time, like you could even wrap my head around like all the other people of the world who like clearly weren't in the same position as me as a college student. You know, they're parents with like 5 children, or they were people of low socioeconomic status and didn't have access to resources, and like things like that obviously play a really big role in your ability to stick to a health and fitness plan, right? But this was something that I was really noticing for myself, and then like looking around at my peers and wondering why so many people were missing out on the benefits that strength training and eating healthy and taking care of yourself really provide. And that's what sent me into graduate school, sent me into my PhD to try to answer this question, because I knew it was not a knowledge issue. People know they need to eat healthy. People know they need to insert movement into their lives on a regular basis. That's not the issue. And psychology really is a big part of it that's overlooked. That is the quote unquote issue, right? And as I got into grad school, and while I was also coaching simultaneously, like I had my own roster of coaching clients, I was getting my PhD in mindset and behavior change, I was really starting to wonder how it's possible that I was having to go and get a PhD to learn how to be a really, really good coach and how to really actually effectively help my clients. And after finishing my PhD program, I recognized how little this was represented in the coaching space. And I really wanted to be able to get it into the hands of more coaches without them having to go to graduate school to do it. And I didn't want to stay in academia and just continue to publish research, knowing that it's not actually getting in the hands of coaches, the people who are actually doing the work with people, right? And that is where HMCC was born. So we're entering into our 9th cohort at this time, which is crazy. That means 2025 will be our 10th cohort. We're going to do something big and crazy for that. We have to. It's crazy. We have close to 700 coaches certified through HMCC, which is just, if you're watching the YouTube video, you can see the biggest smile on my face. So unbelievable and so cool. And I just immediately think 700 coaches, which means even if every single one of those coaches only had 10 clients, we're talking 7,000 lives that could be potentially changed for the better. Not potentially, like will be. So cool. So cool. And I can truly, confidently say that this stuff is the secret sauce. It's what sets apart the most successful coaches from those that are struggling, the happiest coaches from those that are frustrated with their clients, those that turn away the unmotivated clients from those who are excited to work with the unmotivated clients because they know they have the tools to help them get more motivated. It really makes all of the difference and has such great downstream effects from other things we care about too, like your business bottom line, like your income, because your clients are seeing more results, they're sending back more referrals, they're staying with you longer. Like that's all really great from a business perspective too, right? Like not going to gloss over that. And I really know what it feels like to feel like your hands are tied in so many of these situations with clients. And imagine instead to feel fully confident that you know what a client needs when they are like going through this pattern of self-sabotage. They can't stick to the plan. They stick with it for a few weeks and then they fall off. Imagine just going, oh, I know exactly what to do for this person. And I know how to turn this around, instead of just like writing them off, assuming that they're uncoachable, which happens a lot. And it's really not your fault because you were never taught otherwise until now. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, because I can get really passionate and just talk in circles for a really long time about all of this. And I feel like I kind of already did that already, so I apologize. We are going to talk logistics and get into the details of what the health mindset coaching certification is really all about. Okay, so from a content perspective, what you can kind of expect. So HMCC is broken down into three main sections. In the first section, we're going to get into kind of the foundations of behavior change. So we're going to talk about long-standing theories and just, in general, foundations of what we know about behavior change, like what makes people change or not change based on decades of research. And we're going to pull that in to a health coaching perspective. So what can we take from this understanding of how people change, why they don't change, and use that in our coaching practices to obviously help our clients change and maintain that change. So that is something that's really important to me. And I know I've mentioned this in other podcast episodes too. I really, really, really want you guys to understand the scientific and theoretical foundations of what you're learning, because that will give you a jumping off point and a place to kind of come back to, instead of me just saying, here's this strategy and here's this tip and here's this self-control hack and all of these things, which are fine and dandy. And we're going to get into those as well. But they don't lack the same kind of substance if you don't actually understand where those things are coming from and like underlying mechanisms of human behavior. So it kind of allows all of those tips, tricks, and hacks to like attach to something, so that if one of those tips, tricks, and hacks aren't necessarily working, you would probably understand why and know how to pivot and use something else or do something differently or adjust those tips. Well, now I can't even remember all the words I said. Hacks, tips, tricks. Jeez. You know how to adjust those things per the client, given that you now know those foundational elements. Okay. So that's section 1. Section 2 is where we move into the fun stuff. A lot of those tips, hacks, hats, tricks, whatever those words are. I need something else because it's just like a tongue twister at this point. We get to actually learn a lot of those things. So we'll dive into, and we'll see if I can remember all of the stuff that we get into. Habit formation, growth versus fixed mindset, obviously. Motivation, goal setting, self-control, stress, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones in there that I am missing, but kind of all of those big heavy hitters, especially when it comes to clients who struggle with self-sabotage, can't stick with the plan, and you know that there's something going on there from like a psychological block. So we're going to get into those, get into the science, but also give you some very specific tactical strategies to use with your clients. And then the final section is all about like how we actually move some of this stuff into your coaching practices and like how you actually operate as a coach with these things. So we have a couple weeks where we talk about communication methods. Oh my God, some of the most important stuff ever is how you actually communicate with your clients, how you deliver some of this stuff. Because again, I can give you the tips, tricks, hacks. Okay, tips, tricks, and hacks. But if you don't know how to actually communicate with your clients and deliver those things, you're going to keep running into a wall over and over again. And so often, guys, so often, if you're multitasking, come back to me. So often, it is not so much about what you are doing as a coach. It is about how you are saying it. It is about how you are delivering that information. It is about the questions that you are asking. This stuff, communication strategies, are so important, which is why we spend 2 full weeks on it inside HMCC. In addition to that, we talk about your coaching framework and how to start implementing all these things that we've talked about throughout HMCC into your coaching practices. We have an entire week dedicated to application. So talking more about like, okay, here's a client case study example. Here's how you would apply all of the things that we've learned, things of that nature. And you will what am I trying to say? You will finally finalize. Okay, Kasey, we don't need to say it that way. You will end the program going through a final assessment, and that is a case study itself too. So more application there. And that's not all for application. We're doing application throughout the entire program too. At every single week with every single module, you have a worksheet that you complete, and it is designed so you can fill out the worksheet as you're going through the module, and that will help you with retaining what you're learning too, and then give you sort of like a cheat sheet by the end of it. And at the end of that worksheet, there is an application assignment. So I'm essentially saying, hey, here's your hypothetical client situation. How would you apply what you just learned in this module to this client situation? So you're going to actually be applying what you just learned to a hypothetical client case study. And then we will have a live call every single week. These are technically optional. We have people who graduate from HMCC all the time and never come to a single live call. So don't worry about that if you're like, shit, I don't have the schedule capacity for live calls every week, Kasey. You waited this many minutes before telling me that part. But just know you can watch the recordings. If you can't come, it's okay. But inside those live calls, we'll review that application assignment part and we'll go over it together. People will share their ideas and I will share mine kind of in return and kind of riff off of what they have to say and give some more thoughts and perspectives. And it's a really fun collaborative environment on those calls and gives just more ability for you to hear more examples and how this stuff can be applied in real time. So that's what you're looking at. Like I said, you have that final case study at the end as well. So we're like applying it through the very end, giving you feedback and really guiding you every step of the way through the very end. So as far as the structure goes, I mentioned already we have those live calls, but outside of that, I like to say that HMCC is self-paced, but instructor-led, and self-paced in that you can kind of go at the content every week on your own time. So let's say it's week 2 and you only have time to watch the first 15 minutes on Monday, then you can watch another 20 minutes on Tuesday, and then you can finish it up by Wednesday. Or maybe you want to watch all of it on Monday or like save it for the weekend. You can watch it whenever you want, pause, rewind, rewatch it 17 times if you want to. And then we just have those live calls. So it is instructor led in that I am, hi, your instructor. We also have fabulous Sarah Tierney. She is our co-instructor inside HMCC. She was one of the very first people to go through HMCC in our very first round and has since kind of stuck around and become a really, really big part of HMCC. And you guys will absolutely love her. She honestly knows some things about psychology that I don't even know at this point because she's just so dedicated to the craft and continuing to learn. So You will learn from both of us, have access to both of us. You can ask questions at any time, and we're there for you the entire way through. So we are leading you through the program, and there is a deadline at the end. So it's not like you can purchase the program and sit on it for the next 3 years, because I know that's what people tend to do. And I know that because that's what I tend to do. So we do have a deadline. So at the end, there is a time where you have to submit things to get done, to get certified and be on with your life. And because of this structure and the way that it's set up, we have a very, very, very high success rate. Like we're talking 93 to 95% over the course of however many rounds, 8 at this point, right? 8 rounds of HMCC, nearly 700 coaches. And I really, really do attribute that to the way that we have set this up, so that there's some flexibility, but also we're holding you accountable to get it done by the end. Okay. So doors close this Thursday, August 22nd. If you have any questions, if you even want to speak to an alumni member of the program, please, please, please reach out and we will hook you up with someone. Or obviously you can speak to me. It's funny because like I'm talking as if it is August 19th right now, but it's not. It's much earlier because I'm recording this in advance. So during this time, I am very used to speaking to tons and tons of different prospective students who want to potentially join HMCC but are unsure, have some questions, or just want to talk to someone before they make a big purchase decision, a big financial decision, a big energy, everything decision. I get it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. But if you are ready to feel confident calling yourself a mindset coach and guaranteeing your clients' actual lasting results and have a credential to show for it, put some letters after your name, please consider joining us inside the Health Mindset Coaching Certification. I would absolutely love to have you. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to reach out, but I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope this was helpful. Just hearing a little bit more detail, structure of the program, kind of what you can expect. We have a really good time. Like these cohorts are fun. People are always making friends. Like I said, I cry all the time, but we laugh a lot. It really becomes quite a family by the end of it. And I would love to have you join us.